You think you're the only superhero in the world? You become part of a bigger universe. You just don't know it yet.
What's up, YouTube? My name is Gio, and I'm gonna be honest. I had no idea what video I was gonna make this week. After the Batwoman and Joker video, I knew I was gonna have a hard time figuring out what I wanted to talk about, at least until The Mandalorian comes out. Please, Disney, don't screw this up. So I did what I always do when I'm trying to figure out what to talk about. Went to Google Analytics. And I found fuck all. However, during my research, I was reminded of something that happened earlier in October, when Martin Scorsese came out and was talking about the MCU and was saying how he doesn't really see it as cinema. Now, everyone and their mother had something to say about this statement when it came out. And to be honest, it's kinda stupid. The man has a right to his own opinion, and if he thinks the MCU is in cinema, that's fine, even if I disagree. But while this situation didn't really have much for me to talk about, it did get me thinking about superhero and comic book movies in general, and their impact on other movies that get made. And that is when I knew exactly what I was going to do. Today, we're going to be talking about why I believe superhero movies are important to cinema. But first, we need to run it back. This is a nice change of scenery. It should be no surprise you guys that comic book superhero movies have been around for a while. As far back as the 1940s, we had the original Captain Marvel, Batman, Superman, even Captain America making debuts as Saturday film serials. And also, unsurprisingly, these movies were aimed at children, which makes sense. Kids love superheroes, so all the producers had to really do was just to make a fun action movie. This was the trend for a couple decades, until eventually things started to evolve. Movies like Richard Donner's Superman and Tim Burton's Batman started to add more mature elements of these characters into their movies. Yes, these were still aimed at and made for kids, but it started to help grow that mature audience that superhero movies now have today. However, while these two were still outliers in a sea of movies made for kids, it's important to realize that this was the turning of a clock for the genre, and that clock was about to strike noon. It's no secret that during the 90s, Marvel wasn't in the best spot financially, and as a result, sold off the film rights to X-Men and Spider-Man to Fox and Sony respectively. These two studios wanted to make the most out of the assets that they just acquired, so in the early 2000s we got two movies that changed the superhero genre forever, that being the original X-Men and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Both these movies did something that many before it in the superhero genre didn't do, that being focused on the human behind the hero, what these characters deal with personally as a result of the powers they have been given. And that was the missing ingredient in superhero movies up until this point. Being able to take a step back from the big blockbuster action and focus on the smaller, more personal moments is what helps us grow a connection to these characters. I could talk about both these movies at length, but a bunch of talented creators have already talked about these movies to death. But what I want to talk about in regards to these two movies is something called the familiarity principle, also known as the mere exposure effect. Now you might be confused on why I'm even bringing this up, but hear me out. You see, the mere exposure effect describes a phenomenon that causes humans to rate or feel positively about things in which they are frequently or constantly exposed to, including other people. So pretty much humans, the more we're exposed to something or the more we're familiar with something, the more likely we'll enjoy it. This isn't just limited to visual similarities, but also situational similarities. So when we're watching a movie like Spider-Man, we may enjoy the fight with the Green Goblin, but we connect more with the interaction with MJ, the camaraderie between Harry and Peter, and the sadness of losing a loved one. This is because we are more familiar with these aspects in life, rather than the massive heroic stunts. And is also why we connect so much more with well-written characters like Peter Parker, Bruce Wayne, Tony Stark, Diana Prince, because we can relate more to the person behind the hero. As a result, movies that put a focus on these personal elements rose to the top, like Spider-Man 2, X2, Batman Begins, and Iron Man. So now we're at a time where superhero movies are starting to really find their footing and release some massive hits. So now the reasonable question is, how do we make it better? Well, to many the answer was simple. Start mixing genres. You see, the superhero genre is so flexible that it's able to merge with others very easily. This led to each superhero movie starting to get their own identity instead of feeling like a different piece of the same superhero pie. Movies like The Dark Knight, Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Spider-Man Homecoming, Logan, all superhero movies, and all with a completely different feel. Now, I have thrown a lot of information at the screen just now, and you're probably still wondering, what the hell does this have anything to do with superhero movies being important to cinema? Well, let's review and see what we have here. Superhero movies are a flexible genre, have characters that the mass audience are very familiar with, and the understanding that more personal stories work best. See, the reason why superhero movies are so important to cinema is how experimental they can be. Now granted, every kind of movie can be experimental, but let me explain why superhero movies are a different breed. Because of the flexibility of the genre, it allows directors to kind of sneak in their own movie underneath the superhero clothing. And how do I know this, you might be asking? Well, that's exactly what the director of Joker did. He actually said in an interview that he wanted to make a movie about this character, Arthur Fleck, and disguised it as a Joker movie. And audiences loved it, even though it was set in a world that's pretty much abstract to the DC universe. With the Joker's success and DC confirming that the movie is set in an alternate universe, it should be a wake-up call to studios that there is a market for these more out-there comic book movies. With the freedom of creating an alternate universe, it's easy for directors to masquerade their own stories as superhero movies. And on top of that, because of the mere exposure effect, see, I told you we'd come back around, the mass audience will be more open to see the movie because they are familiar with these characters, so it's less of a risk whether you will enjoy the movie or not. Plus, now you got the mass audience to enjoy this more out there take, it's more likely that they'll be accepting of more out there movies in general. Why? Because they were exposed to them. Joker has opened the door for infinite interpretations of comic book characters. And all you have to do is label it an alternate universe, sprinkle in some familiar characters, and make sure your main character's actions are clear. Something like this can only really be done with the superhero genre, and thanks to its flexibility, character familiarity, and the potential to expose people to the more out there side of films, this is why superhero movies are so important to cinema. Whew, okay, that was a different video indeed. But anyway, I do hope you guys did enjoy this different take. It's definitely something that's out of my comfort zone. I really wanted to kind of bring like a different vibe to this video. I'm not sure if it's going to work or not, or even if I included it, because I realized halfway through shooting this that my shirt pretty much matches the background. So I kind of blend in a bit. So if I do continue this more, I'd probably work on that. It's experimental. I didn't want to leave you guys without a video. For so long, at least until I get a good grasp on how I feel about The Mandalorian. So I figured that this might be a good discussion starter in a way. So what do you guys think? Do you think superhero movies are important to cinema as I think they are? Or do you think they're just fun blockbuster actions that come around every now and then? Also tell me in the comment section down below, what is your favorite superhero movie? I actually am very curious on what the consensus is on my channel. For me personally, it has to be, it's weird, it changes every so often, but it has to be Spider-Man 3. Now I know it's not, I don't think it's anyone's real favorite of the trilogy. It's just, I have such good memories of it. I remember vividly going to the movies with my family to see it. My dad got a pirated version of it. I watched it so many times as a kid, and that movie is pretty much ingrained into my brain. But anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys liked it and new channel, hit the like and subscribe button. Also, see all potential, hit the same buttons, and also click on the notification bell so you don't miss a single upload. Anyway, my name is Gio, and I will talk to you all later. Peace! Dear God, I hope this video works out.